Georgia's ruling party has said it's going to drop the controversial bill to regulate what it calls foreign agents. Thousands of people have protested in the capital Tablisi for 2 days against a law they say could silence critics of the government. Standoffs with police outside the Parliament building have continued through early morning. The bill would have required all organisations which get at least 20% of their funding from abroad to be branded as foreign agents. Well, joining us live from Tablisi is Kakhaber Kemoklidze, who's the political secretary of the opposition party for Georgia and the former head of Georgia's National Security Council office. Sir, very good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. What has really motivated the lawmakers to pull this back? Is it about the protests or is it also pressure from the EU?
I think, first of all, it's the result of the high pressure from the Georgian society, because 85% of the Georgian society is very European. And the European perspective is written within the Georgian constitution, and this draft law introduced by the ruling party was directly undermining the Georgian constitution. And I think the withdrawal of this draft law by the ruling party is a particular result of the society's extreme anger, what we have been facing within the last 48 hours.
For those of us who are just coming to this story fairly fresh, talk us through what the objections were to this, because if I understand it correctly, the US has similar regulations and they say it's not to suppress open debate, it is simply to specify the country or the foreign entity behind organisations making comments. Supporters of that would say that that is simply adding more context. What's the issue with this bill?
Thank you very much for a very interesting question. Yes, let's say the introducers of this draft law have been using this particular argument that what might work in the United States, why it would not work in Georgia. The answer is very simple. This law was introduced in the United States in 1938. And in the United States, the institutions are very strong, and there is very good sense of understanding of the legislation within the United States. And in Georgia, it's a different, let's say, environment. We don't have strong institutions, unfortunately. This is a country with transition economy, transition democracy. At the same time, we're building the institutions right now, and what might be working in a Western countries, it might not work in the context of Georgia. This is argument A. And the argument B is exactly the one which was pretty much, let's say, very well spread within the Georgian society, because what was introduced by the same argument, by the way, in 2012 in Moscow, in Russia, that was done pretty much in the same manner in Tbilisi just 2-3 days ago. What the aim and the goal of this law was pretty much similar what the Russians used to have back 10 years ago, to suppress the NGO sector, to suppress the TV stations, to suppress the independent media, and generally to somehow choke the independent, let's say, criticism, which might be vital for the sake of democracy in Georgia right now.
Do you think that there is a chance that this is the last of this bill, or is it more likely that supporters are so determined that this bill is the right thing to do that they are going to reshape it, and at some point in the future we're going to see attempts to reintroduce it?
To be honest, this is a quite valid, let's say, assumption what particular people are already making after hearing that the ruling party actually stepped back. Because there have been several precedents within the history of Georgian Dreams Ruling, when they said one thing and did totally other one, when they promised one thing and at some point changed this promise in a swift manner after several months, when the protests somehow decreased. And I think it might be tricky to look and to directly, let's say, believe in what ruling party is saying or doing right now. But at the end of the day, we still rely on the Georgian society's absolute majority's, let's say, pressure, internal pressure on the Georgian government, which actually effectively works right now so far.
Very good to have you with us on Al Jazeera, sir. Kakhaber Kemoklidze, thank you very much indeed for your time.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you very much.